This is what people think it's like to invest in a great stock. This is how they think it performs in their head, right? Is it's just like, slow and steady, up and up and up and up and up. But I can show you how a stock actually performs. That's a great stock. This is how it performs, okay? This is what it's actually like to be a shareholder of a great stock. It is massive ups, massive downs, short-term scares. It looks like it's the end of the world. Oh my gosh. And then everything's the greatest ever, and it's going to be the biggest company ever. This is what it's actually like to be in a great stock over time. And you can look back at any great stock over time. This is what you're going to see, okay? Monster Beverage, a stock I personally owned many years ago that, guess what? I regret every share I ever sold of Monster. Monster used to be like a top 3 biggest investment for me. And I made crazy money on that stock back in the day, and I sold all my shares. And I regret it. I wish I should have just held every dang share in sight. Should have never sold that stock, okay? To pay taxes on that? By the way, yeah, my Tesla sales, guess what? I had to pay the government hundreds of thousands of dollars in tax money. Great decision, okay? Great decision. Same thing with Monster wasn't hundreds of thousands of dollars. It was a big number, but it wasn't that big, okay? But created a taxable event for what? And Monster is one of the greatest stocks of the past 20 years. This stock has returned 130,000%. 130,000%. Get out your calculator, okay? And say, what if I invested $10,000 in a Monster 20 years ago? Tell me what that number is, okay? So, one of the greatest stocks of the past 20 years, okay? I circled awful crashes for Monster, okay? Some of these crashes were 20 to 30%. Some of them were more like 40 to 50% type crashes, okay? And I basically was able to circle about 20 different crashes over the past 20 years that this stock has had that were awful. So the stock has crashed at least 20 times in the past 20 years, and the stock has still managed to return 130,000%. This is what you have to go through in the market. If you want the gain, you have to go through a whole lot of pain. There's no easy way around this. You're going to have some moments when the stock looks like it's overvalued. You're going to have some moments when the stock is disgustingly undervalued because the stock crashed, okay? And it's your job as a great investor to say, you know what? I'm going to let this one ride because the company executes. And year after year after year, they prove to me they execute on a high level. So it's not worth me cashing my shares out of this, okay? And I can tell you this is a lesson I had to learn over the past 15 years the hard way. I didn't have somebody to give me a talking to, unfortunately. I've had to do this all myself. All trial and error. No one there to help me. Insurance, right? Insurance. We all have different types of insurance. If you rent somewhere, you probably have what's called renter's insurance, right? So if everything catches on fire, you're protected from that. If you own a home, you might have homeowner's insurance, right? If you own a car, you have car insurance. You might have health insurance, and hopefully you do, right? And the reason we have these different types of insurances in life is so in case things go bad, right? And you need, a $50,000 procedure at the hospital, which isn't spending in that much nowadays because healthcare is out of control, right? Or if your house burns down or whatever happens, right? You're protected. And that's great. But the problem is most people don't protect their portfolios at all, okay? They don't protect their portfolios at all. And I bet you a lot of you guys watching this video right now, I bet you're not protected. Do you have insurance on your portfolio? Probably not. And I didn't do it for a long time either. And then I got bitten bad. I hurt severely, right, in 2022. And that really changed everything for me. And I realized I'm riding around like a cowboy with no insurance, and this isn't good. Same way as somebody that never wants to get home insurance or, car insurance, and then something bad happens, they get in a car accident, and they realize, oh, this is why I should have it, or no health insurance, and then something happens and you're like, oh crap, I wish I had health insurance right now. Or your house burns down. You got, the million different things. You don't look at it until you really need it. And that's the moment that you start taking it serious and you're like, damn, man, I freaking need some insurance, right? So there's a lot of different ways of kind of playing insurance in your portfolio and adding to protection for downside. So if there's a downside scenario, over the next 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, you're at least somewhat protected, okay? And so let's go over a few different ways you can protect your portfolio. And there's a million different ones, okay? Because I understand, like, most people don't want to sell out your portfolio. It's not worth trying to time the market, right? Like, don't time the market. Don't try, I've seen a lot of really intelligent people, if we want to call them that, try to time this market and sell out all their stocks just to then watch their stocks go up and up and up and turn into perma bears. You don't want to have that happen, okay? So if you want a little protection out there to a little slice of your portfolio, you can buy what's called SQQQ, okay? ProShares Ultra Pro Short QQQ seeks daily investment results before fees and expenses that correspond to 3 times the inverse, -3 times the daily performance of the NASDAQ 100 index. So if you, let's say you're of the thought process like, oh man, NASDAQ stocks are starting to get really expensive. I think there's a lot of risk out there. I think there's at least a potential that we could have the market go down over the next 6 to 12 months. And I want to protect myself a little bit just in case that happens. You can buy a little bit of SQQQQ, okay? And if you look at the performances like the past 5 days, for instance, it's not always perfect, but it's pretty darn close, right? The Qs are down 0.24% in the past 5 days, and SQQQQ is up about 0.7% roughly. So it's never going to work out perfect in terms of a 3x correlation, but it's pretty darn good, at least over, shorter periods of time of, let's say, a few weeks, a few months, something like that, okay? So that's something that's a potential, and that's something I actually might have just bought my first SQQQ in my life in terms of a little small hedge today. I might have, I don't know. Check out the Patreon portfolio. I made 5 moves in the Patreon portfolio here today. That's pinned comment down there. You get to see the moves I'm making each week in there, okay? Next one up here that you could do is SDOW, right? SDOW is basically, think of it as SQQQ, but the only difference is this one's basically working against the Dow Jones Industrial Average, right? And so this one's 3 times inverse of the daily performance of the Dow Jones Industrial Average. So those are 2 options you certainly have out there, right? That are ways to protect your portfolio that you can with a smaller amount of capital, right? You can do that with 1% to 5% of your portfolio, which is not a huge percentage, but obviously if the market goes down immensely, you're going to save a lot of face in that situation because remember, it's working as a 3x. So let's imagine a scenario where, you put 3% of your portfolio in SDOW, let's say, for instance, right, or SQQ, and let's just say the Dow goes down 10% over the next 2 months. People start getting scared again, the market's overvalued, whatever, okay? Then all of a sudden, obviously you're going to likely 3x your money, if not a lot more than 3x your money, because obviously, in terms of the performance of SDOW, if the Dow's dropping rapidly very quickly, it's potential that SDOW could actually do a little better than like 3x against the market, okay? So that is something to keep in mind there. If you want to take it on steroids a little bit and maybe risk smaller amount of capital, then you can look at something like call options on these things, right? So let's say you're NASDAQ heavy and you're like, I just want to hedge up, buy a little insurance in case this market goes down in any significant way. You can look at actually buying call options. Let's say you're thinking about 6-7 months out, January 2024, and you could be looking at a few different strike prices here. So you don't have to just buy one strike price. You could buy something in the money. Remember, SQQQ right now is just under $22, right? So you could buy something, pretty far in the money right now. That's like, let's say at an $18 strike that's expiring in January 2024. You could buy something else in the money that's like a $20 strike price. You could buy something a little out of the money, so like $23 strike price. And you could buy something like $30 just in case the market really tanks, right, in a major, major way. That would obviously be a huge moneymaker if the NASDAQ obviously tanked off a cliff the next 6, 7, 8 months for whatever reason, right? So that's definitely a way you can play it. And like I said, you don't have to go all in just one thing because a lot of people think, I just got to buy one. If you're trying to buy protection, you can buy it at several different prices, right? And that's the way to think about it. And the way to think about all this, right, in terms of insurance, it's no different than most of the time you're going to pay in for your car insurance. Most of the time you're going to pay in for your homeowner's insurance, and you're not going to use it, right? So you say, it's a waste of money. Well, no, it's there in case of worst case scenario. Most of the time you're going to pay into your health insurance, and you're not going to use it. That's a good thing. And so the way to think about this, whenever you're hedging your portfolio, you're not going to use it, or hopefully whatever you're buying is not worth much in 6 months or 12 months from now, because that means the market likely went up, which means your portfolio likely did tremendously well over that time. But just in case it goes really bad, you get to save a whole lot of face, and you're going to be very, very happy you did that, right?